Heyo everybody, my name is Shady Blues, and for this video, I'll be covering a movie that most of us have watched or heard during our childhood, Matilda. This 90s movie features a former child star, Mara Wilson, as the leading actor, and was produced, directed, and narrated by our American hero, Danny DeVito, who also plays her shitty dad in the movie. And it was based on an old children's book by Roald Dahl, who was one letter away from being named Ronald. He was known for his whimsical and humorous writing in many children's books, like James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which have gone their own successful film adaptations. However, his anti-Semitic views and racism did seep into his works, but that could be its own video for another time. This film is very nostalgic and holds a special place in my heart, because I have memories of watching this movie with my loving aunt, who I remember was an avid book reader and would encourage me to read books. And since there's gonna be a new film adaptation of Matilda that'll be on Netflix somewhere in late 2022, so I thought to rewatch this 90s classic to see if it still holds up to be a great movie. But first, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. With that being said, let's get right into the review. The movie starts with a married couple named Harry and Zinnia Wormwood walking out of a hospital with their newly born daughter, Matilda. Also, Michael exists, but forget about him, he's not important. And it's quickly established that they are horrible parents to Matilda by showing them leaving her at home unsupervised, talking down to her as if she's stupid, or not approving of her reading hobby. Then the movie boasts about things that Matilda can do as a child, such as being able to take care of herself like an adult, before it shows a montage of her going to the library and reading a shit ton of books. Matilda wants to go to school, but her parents don't want her to because there will be nobody home to take in the stolen car parts for Harry's scummy car business, where he does a shit job of repairing broken down cars and selling them at ridiculous prices. Matilda rightfully calls him out for this, and later it will bite him in the ass. One day at work, Harry gets a big customer named Agatha Trunchbull, and she is the strict principal of a school called Cruncham Hall. So both of them struck a deal where Trunchbull gets Harry's best car, and Matilda gets enrolled in her school, which makes Matilda excited nevertheless. So on the first day of school, Miss Trunchbull gets fully introduced to the viewers, and we get to see how much of a power she is, by fucking yeeting a little girl over the school fence about her pigtails. But don't worry, she's fine, I guess. Also, we get to be introduced to Matilda's lovely teacher, Miss Honey, who I would love to use in my questionable fan art. And Matilda gets to flex her big brain IQ in the class by solving problems like,
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You very smart.
This impressed Miss Honey so much that she paid a visit to the Wormwoods home after school to discuss about Matilda's intelligence, but the Wormwoods ignore her. And eventually she leaves when the Wormwoods gets upset when she unintentionally struck a nerve about their faulty business. But before she does, she leaves a book for Matilda. A few days later, Miss Trunchbull's car starts to break down and punishes Matilda for it because her father sold her that shitty car by putting her in the school torture device called the Chokey. But Miss Honey was able to rescue Matilda while Trunchbull is lecturing her class. So after school, Matilda goes to Miss Honey's home for the first time, where she finds out that Trunchbull is Miss Honey's aunt and her dark past. So both of them sneak into Trunchbull's house while she's gone, and Miss Honey gave a tour of the house while she's reminiscing about her childhood. Unfortunately, the Trunch has returned sooner than expected because her car has broken down yet again, and goes rampaging around the house looking for the two intruders. But they were able to safely escape before Miss T caught up to them. When Matilda got back home, she finally discovers that she has telekinetic powers when she was egging on her father to yell at her, which would have gone south if she didn't awaken her powers in time. Then we get a cool scene of her learning how to use her new powers. Also, the Fed exists, but fuck them since they're almost irrelevant to the movie's plot. One night, Matilda snuck out of her home while her family was watching TV, to retrieve Miss Honey's doll from Trunchbull's house. Also, she kills off her older brother by making him choke on a carrot on the way out. After arriving at the Trunch domain and retrieving Miss Honey's doll, she decided to use her new powers to torment Trunchbull before leaving. But she left behind a red ribbon which Trunchbull found on her car while she was rushing out of her house, terrified. The next day later, Matilda gave Miss Honey her doll back when she arrived at school. But Trunchbull arrives too and decides to pay a little visit to their class to rat out who invaded her home. Matilda showed Miss Honey her new powers, and shortly after, Miss Trunchbull comes to their class to interrogate everyone with threats of violence. But Matilda used her powers to mentally destroy Miss Trunchbull even more, while protecting the other children from her rampage. Then Trunchbull ran out of the school traumatized, while children are throwing shit at her on the way out. After Trunchbull's disappearance, Miss Honey becomes the new principal of the school and moves back to her childhood home, of which Matilda was a frequent visitor. One day, the Wormwoods arrive at Miss Honey's home to take Matilda with them to Brazil because their faulty car business was finally exposed and the FBI are currently chasing them down. But Matilda pulls out adoption papers out of nowhere, and the Wormwoods agreed to sign the papers, making Miss Honey Matilda's adopted mother. Then we get a wholesome montage of Matilda and Miss Honey spending time with each other before the movie ends. I enjoyed rewatching this movie again because it kept me smiling during the whole movie. It made me reminisce about some parts of my childhood, like spending my whole summer with my aunt, who I watched this movie with. I love the actor's performance in this movie, like Pam Ferris as Miss Trunchbull, with her intimidating demeanor and colorful vocabulary. And Mara Wilson did a great job of playing Matilda as a brilliant girl who's brave enough to stand against bad adults, and did a phenomenal job than most child actors. Another thing that I love about this movie is its soundtrack, like Send Me On My Way by the Rusted Roots, because it's a great song to listen to, and I had it as my music alarm clock for a while. And finally, the overall message of this movie is that you could choose who you want to be as your family when your biological one doesn't appreciate or respect you. Which I resonated a lot as I was raised in a family that became increasingly dysfunctional over time during my teenage years. And can relate to Matilda's feelings of isolation or unappreciation from my family. But I was able to make some friends who I have a familial connection and count them as my family in some way. Also, I like the story of Mara Wilson's time with Danny DeVito and his wife during the movie production, because they served somewhat as a surrogate family for her when her mother was suffering from breast cancer during the time, which I believe emphasized the movie's themes about family, and that her mom got to watch the movie early to see her daughter's performance before passing away somewhere around the movie's release. Although I may have spoiled most of the movie for you guys, I still highly recommend you guys to watch this movie for yourself, because I did leave out some scenes for you guys to watch for yourself, and believe that you will have a great time to watching this whole movie for yourself. Overall, I believe that Matilda is a great children's film that is worth watching as an adult, because of its storytelling, characters, and music. That's pretty much all of what I would like to say, and remember, stay gold.